it'll never be the same because our brother's not here. DMX, you know, rest in peace. You know, we formed like a brotherhood. I didn't have to see him. I didn't have to call him. He didn't have to call me. When we saw each other though, it was that. Right there. It was that. It was beyond like.
Okay, I see what's really good. You're trying to eliminate the competition. You know, because at first you retire, you know, then get me off the label. Now you're back rapping again. Okay.
But you know.
It wasn't just about music, it was war. And Nas is finally calling it what it was. Jay-Z didn't just leave the rap game and come back for fun. Nas says he came back because he was scared. Scared of DMX, scared of competition, and when things got too real, Jay-Z didn't fight. He ran straight into the arms of Beyonce. According to Nas, DMX was one of the few rappers who shook Jay to his core. They weren't just rivals on the mic, there was tension behind the scenes. DMX didn't play politics, he spoke his mind, and didn't care who got upset. Jay-Z, on the other hand, played it safe, but quiet moves were being made. Nas says Jay didn't want to battle real competition. That's why when DMX was dropping his 6th album, Jay, who had just taken over Def Jam, allegedly stepped in and delayed it. DMX had 5 #1 albums already. He was still a threat, and Jay knew it. So what did Jay-Z do? According to DMX, and now Nas, he pulled the strings to stop the album, then came out of retirement when the coast was clear. Nas said it best, "You trying to eliminate the competition," but that wasn't the whole story, because what Jay-Z did next, right after trying to block DMX, would spark a pattern that hurt more than just one artist. And when Nas got caught in it, he knew something deeper was going on. Nas wasn't just guessing, he had receipts. When he dropped his album Nasir in 2018, fans were excited. It was his big return, produced by Kanye West, and the buzz was real. But just one day later, something strange happened. Jay-Z and Beyonce dropped a surprise album, Everything Is Love. No warning, no promo, just boom, out of nowhere. And it didn't stop there. They even had a full music video already shot in Paris at the Louvre Museum. That kind of project takes time. You don't plan that overnight, which made Nas and his fans wonder, was it just a coincidence or was it a move? To Nas, the answer was clear. It wasn't the first time Jay had done this, and it wouldn't be the last. Nas pointed out how Jay-Z always seemed to drop music right when Nas had something big coming. Back in 2001, Nas released Stillmatic, and Jay answered with his MTV Unplugged special just days later. In 2004, Nas dropped Street's Disciple, and Jay hit back with Collision Course with Linkin Park. Same thing in 2007. Nas dropped Greatest Hits. Days later, Jay dropped American Gangster. Over and over, Jay-Z moved to steal the spotlight.
We work around the same time, and then the time.
They said Stillmatic came out December 18th. They said Jay released Unplugged. Then they said Street Disciple November 30th. Then Collision Course. Nas's Greatest Hits, American Gangster. Nasir, Everything Is Love. The Lost Tapes, Beyonce, Jay-Z, Lion King.
And that's where it got stupid with the Lion King soundtrack. The Lion King soundtrack is when it gets cut.
And according to Nas, this wasn't random. It was part of a pattern, a strategy to block anyone who came too close. But Nas wasn't the only one who felt this, because soon, other rappers would step forward and say they saw the same thing. And one of them was right inside Jay's own circle. Beanie Siegel was one of Rockefeller's rising stars. He was loyal, he had bars, and most of all, he had real love for Jay-Z. But even he couldn't ignore what was happening. In a rare interview, Beanie shared something fans had been wondering for years. Why did Jay always release albums right before him? Every time Beanie got ready to shine, Jay would drop a project days earlier, cutting the buzz short. Beanie said it felt like Jay didn't want him to win. He wouldn't let me breathe, Beanie said. It was like in-house competition. I'd get close, and then boom, Jay dropped. He even admitted it made him question everything. Was it just bad timing, or was it something deeper? Now, Beanie takes some responsibility too. He admits he had legal troubles and distractions that hurt his career, but still, he couldn't help but notice the pattern. Jay wasn't just competing, he was making sure no one in his camp got too hot.
I don't think one man could destroy another man's life. It's ultimately in your own decisions. You know, I had a lot of issues. Like I said, legal issues at the time. And, you know, my mind wasn't where I'm at now today. I used to have questions like why every time my album dropped, Jay would drop right on top. He wouldn't let me breathe right before me. Like I was always close, and I never understood that every single album that I dropped, Jay dropped right on top. And it was like, damn, like to have in-house competition at that magnitude was crazy. Jay already the boss, but always thought that, like, let me.
And this isn't just about timing, it's about power. Because Jay-Z wasn't just a rapper anymore. He was a boss. He had the power to decide when albums dropped, who got the spotlight, and who got shelved. And according to Beanie, he used that power to stay on top. But Beanie wasn't the only one who felt the sting. Next up was another artist who never backed down. And when Jay tried to steal his moment, it played out live on national TV. Cameron was riding high. His music was doing numbers. And he finally booked a big moment on 106 and Park to talk about it. But just as he sat down for his interview, something unexpected happened. Jay-Z walked out from the back. No heads up, no warning, just walked on stage and took over the spotlight. Cameron was caught off guard. You could see it on his face. He didn't look angry, he looked confused. That was his moment. His fans were watching, but now the focus was off him and onto Jay-Z. Instead of asking Cam about his album, the host suddenly turned to Jay and asked about his project, The Blueprint 2. Just like that, Cam's interview became a Jay-Z promo. Later, Cam said nobody told him Jay would be there. He felt ambushed. If I knew he was coming, we could have vibed it out, he said. But I was sitting there thinking, what's going on?
Jay-Z and Cameron, 106 and Park. What was going through your mind in that interview?
Nobody told me he was coming. Pause. So when I'm sitting there thinking I'm getting my moment on 106 and Park, talking about my shit and how my shit is doing well, and he comes out the back and I'm like, it's like, what's going on? So I'm sitting there just trying to be as cool as I can because, you know, this is my time to be on 106 and Park and talk about my shit. But like you said, I don't even remember what you said, but obviously it turned into his album.
So we heard you're working on another album. Can you tell us about it? What's going on?
Blueprint 2, The Gift and the Curse.
On my time, and like I said, I didn't know he was there. If I knew he was there, then, you know, we would have vibed it out, but it was more like a surprise. That's kind of probably what my face was. It wasn't more of disgust, it was more of a, what's going on?
This was no accident. It was another example of Jay using surprise moves to control the moment, not just behind the scenes, but right in public, and it raised more questions. Was Jay doing this to stay on top or to block others from rising? The industry was starting to notice, and while many stayed quiet, Nas and DMX were already speaking out. But what Jay did with DMX behind the scenes, that's where things turned from shady to personal. DMX wasn't just another rapper, he was a force, and for a long time, he was Def Jam. 5 straight #1 albums, sold out shows, the streets loved him. But once Jay-Z became president of Def Jam, things changed. DMX said Jay called him at first, pretending everything was good, told him to finish his 6th album, shoot the video, and get ready. But after all that, things went silent. Suddenly, nobody at the label knew what was going on. DMX was confused and hurt. How do you listen to a whole album, pick the single, shoot the video, then act like you don't know? He asked.
What happened was, you know, like I said, I had the crazy track record, Def Jam, everything was good. You know, I go to do the 6th album. And, you know,
Jay-Z became president.
Yeah. You know, when he first got the job, he hit me with the call like, yo, dog, DMX is running the building like, yo, you good? Finish the album, shoot the video. So what happened? Niggas go on vacation and, you know, we don't know. What you mean you don't know? How do you listen to a whole album, pick a single, shoot a video, then don't know?
He finally realized what was happening. Jay-Z had come out of retirement, and he didn't want competition. So instead of going head-to-head with DMX, he stalled him out. That's when DMX knew it was time to leave Def Jam.
Okay, I see what's really good. You're trying to eliminate the competition. You know, because at first you retire, you know, then get me off the label, now you're back rapping again. Okay. It's all good. It's all good.
The message was clear. Jay didn't want to compete. He wanted to control. But DMX wasn't afraid to speak up, and neither was Nas. Up next, Nas breaks down how Jay used Beyonce to protect his image. Nas started to see a pattern. Jay-Z wasn't just dropping music at the same time, he was hiding behind something bigger. Or rather, someone bigger, Beyonce. According to Nas, Jay used Beyonce's image as a shield. Every time he made a bold or shady move, he did it with Beyonce right next to him. Whether it was releasing surprise albums or controlling the media spotlight, the Carters moved as a unit. To the public, Jay-Z looked like a loving husband and family man. But behind the scenes, Nas says it was strategy. Beyonce's fame, her fans, and her flawless brand made Jay look untouchable. And when people questioned his moves, Jay could step back and let Beyonce's image do the work. Nas wasn't afraid to call it out. He said people were scared to speak on Jay because of her, but not him. He'd seen too much. Still, the biggest shock came when Nas exposed how deep Jay's silence really went, especially when it came to someone with a dark dark history. Coming up, Nas brings up a name that shocked everyone: R. Kelly. Nas didn't just talk about music. He went deeper and called out something that most artists were too afraid to mention. He brought up Jay-Z's silence around R. Kelly. Back when serious rumors were surrounding R. Kelly, Nas said everyone in the industry knew something wasn't right. But Jay-Z still moved forward with their joint project, the best of both worlds. Nas didn't hold back. He said Jay looked the other way, chose money over morals. On the Wendy Williams radio show, Nas said, "You can't tell me Jay didn't see what was going on." He claimed Jay was in the studio and saw things that should have made him walk away. Instead, Jay stayed silent. Nas believed that silence wasn't just about protecting a project. It was about protecting himself. He hinted that Jay might have had his own reasons for staying quiet, but Jay never addressed it. Instead, he made a new move, one that would change his image forever. Next, Jay flips the script and turns controversy into praise with one powerful rebrand. After all the silence, Jay-Z made his next move, and it was calculated. Instead of speaking on the past, Jay helped fund the surviving R. Kelly documentary. It was a bold pivot. Now, instead of being tied to the controversy, he looked like a supporter of justice. The timing raised eyebrows, but the effect was powerful. People stopped asking questions. They saw Jay as a changed man: father, a husband, a businessman. He became Family Man Jay, the face of success and growth. Nas and others saw through it. To them, it wasn't growth, it was a cover-up, a way to wash away old stories and rebrand his legacy. Even 50 Cent joined the conversation. He said Jay's biggest move wasn't just in business, it was in marrying Beyonce. According to 50, Jay's contract with her opened new doors, new awards, and new power. But this wasn't just industry talk, it raised a bigger question. Was Jay-Z building an empire or blocking anyone who threatened it? 50 Cent didn't stop there. He said straight up, Jay-Z's success changed the moment he married Beyonce. According to 50, the industry treated Jay differently once he was seen as Beyonce's husband. The Grammys, the press, the partnerships, it all shifted. That marriage was the real contract, 50 said. After that, the trophies started rolling in. He even joked that Beyonce and Jay's kids had awards before they could even sing. To him, it was clear. Jay wasn't just winning on talent. He was winning through image, timing, and strategy. But behind the fame, DMX and Nas saw something else. They believed Jay was using his power not to build, but to block, to control when albums dropped, when artists got pushed, and who got attention, and they refused to stay silent. That's why DMX's bond with Nas mattered. It wasn't just friendship, it was about truth and standing up to the biggest name in hip-hop. And when DMX passed, Nas made sure that truth didn't die with him. When DMX passed in 2021, Nas didn't just lose a friend, he lost one of the few people in the industry brave enough to speak the truth. At DMX's memorial, Nas stood up with tears in his eyes. He remembered the man, the mission, and the moments they shared. But more than anything, he honored the bond they had. Two artists who refused to play the game, who refused to stay quiet while others used power to silence competition. Nas called it like it is. Jay-Z wasn't just competing, he was controlling. From surprise album drops to label politics to hiding behind Beyonce's image, the pattern was clear. And while others tiptoed around it, Nas and DMX spoke out. Because sometimes telling the truth in this industry is the boldest move of all. If you're still here, hit that like button and let us know. Do you think Nas and DMX were right to call Jay-Z out? Or is this just how the game is played? Drop your thoughts in the comments.